Good afternoon and welcome to another version of CannaList Conversations. Today we are here with Jeffrey Graham of Pistil Data. Oh, I hope I got that right. Pistil Data. Jeffrey, how are you?
Good, thank you.
You guys have had a lot going on, huh?
It's never a dull moment. That's true.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been a ton of money going into the cannabis space lately. Um, I think I saw a quote somewhere, in excess of $1 billion going into the space, truly a hot space. But you guys are going at it from a different angle. You're going at it from the data perspective. So tell us what Pistil is all about and give us a little bit of a background.
Sure. So we help cannabis brands and distributors sell their product. We try to make the sales process easier for them by giving them up-to-date information at a local level to help them understand what stores are most likely to stock their products, which stores they should call upon, and give them helpful information to make that sales process more effective. We're operating right now in California and Colorado, but we're rolling out to an additional 13 states next year. And we're a data company that is focused on just helping make the whole process of selling cannabis easier.
And why is data so important to the cannabis industry? I mean, the cannabis industry has been fine as a black market, and I don't know how much data was going around back then, but why now?
Well, when you're operating the black market in a legal regime, you obviously don't want to collect a lot of data because data can get you in trouble. So it's interesting that the cannabis industry actually started from way behind the starting line compared to most industries, actually being a data averse industry. Um, I'm not one to judge whether things were going fine with or without data. And, that really is in many ways ancient history. Um, but every business that is trying to make good decisions and trying to operate efficiently needs information to do that. I worked at a company called NorCal Cannabis for about a year as head of business intelligence. And we had a lot of decisions to make, decisions like what products are most likely to be successful if we launch them? How do we price our products? What stores and regions are most likely to stock our products, and how do we go to market? How do we, how do we operate and optimize the efficiency of our sales force? Those are all, you can't make those decisions only with data, but if you don't have any data, it's very unlikely that you're going to make the best decision. So data is important in every business, and as the industry grows and businesses become more complex, data is going to be vital.
And are you finding challenges gathering this data because of it's a new industry? There's not a lot of historical data, I would think. It's relatively new in the last couple of years. How has that been for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a good question. The gathering of data, well, the amount of data in cannabis actually is, um, you know, quite large for a number of reasons, primarily because it's so regulated. So there's a lot of data in terms of licenses and stores. Um, there's data, data that we don't deal with right now, but obviously seed to sale data is a huge part of the way the industry operates. And then the cannabis industry is modernizing like every other sector of the economy as more and more things become online, more e-commerce, pickup, delivery, that type of thing. That also increases the amount of data in the world for cannabis. What makes cannabis data particularly challenging is how messy it is. If you think about, I don't know, pick a category, liquor, right? There are 10,000 SKUs in the average big box, huge, liquor warehouse. 10,000 SKUs is a lot, but they're standardized, they're packaged, there are SKUs. You can actually gather and catalog the manufacturers and the brands and the products in liquor pretty easily. In cannabis, there are brands that are being created all the time. Certainly in strains, there's huge dynamic change in terms of what people are growing, what they're calling their products. There's no standardized data systems that they're shared across the industry. So there's a lot of data, but it's really, really messy. And to turn that huge amount of data, messy data, into something that a salesperson can look at our phone and say, oh, I should call this store, and here's a few, this is probably the product that they're most likely to stock. That's really the challenge of our business, and that's what we're really focused on nailing.
So that insight sounds like predictive analytics. Is that correct?
Okay.
As far as, this is the product they're most likely going to want to have. So is that an AI-based recommendation?
We actually are decision support for the salesperson. So we're not at the point now where we can tell that salesperson, with a 93.5% level of confidence that this is the product. But there are some really fundamental things that we help salespeople with. So first of all, we help them understand simply within a local area, so down to the city, and actually down to the individual store. Here are the stores that exist in your region. Here are the ones that stock your products. Here's the one that stock your competitors' products. Here's the products on the shelf. Here's the pricing. And this is what's changing over time. That's information that without Pistil, you don't really have. You may have your own spreadsheet, and everybody has their own spreadsheet, and things get really messy in terms of a source of truth. So we're the source of truth for that information. That helps the salesperson narrow down the type of the stores that they may want to call or visit, and then get a really good sense of what that store is all about, what's happening in the store. And then on a day-to-day basis, what are the opportunities in that store? What's out of stock? Where are the holes in the menu? Where have there been price changes that indicate that a product is moving very quickly or moving very slowly? So we're not making the decision for the salesperson, but we're giving them really crucial information that help them make a better decision about how to use their time.
And you're pushing this out through an app to their phones so that when they're out in the field, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said California and New York, those the markets?
California and Colorado.
And Colorado, okay.
Right now.
So presently you're in, some pretty established markets as far as they've been around for a while. How is it different when you begin to look at Chicago and New York, which are relatively new and coming online, and haven't had the track record of Colorado and California?
Every state is so different. We're rolling out to Arizona this month. We'll be rolling out to Nevada and Washington and Michigan, and each state as we roll out. And we learn about how different the situations are. That can range everywhere from how many stores are in the market, how many retailers, whether it's ultra saturated, or that there's a very limited number of licenses. So you could be ultra saturated like a mature market like Oregon, or you've got Nevada where there's a very few set of stores. So just very different dynamics. There's the general maturity of the market in terms of the products and the number of products, and simply just how complex it is for brands to navigate within those markets. There are, I would say the two extremes would be Colorado and New York. New York doesn't really have a market to speak of at this point. So that's not really a place that we can help brands sell into retail stores because there are no retail stores yet. So it really depends on the market, and we're learning as we go.
And part of your growth strategy was to raise private equity. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We didn't raise private equity. No,
Okay.
it's all been angel as well as venture capital.
Yeah, but that private equity, that's what I meant by venture capital.
Okay.
So you guys recently closed around with Cosmoverdi, correct?
Correct.
And how was that experience compared to, have you raised money before in other industries?
No.
Okay. How was it to raise a round of equity?
Um, it takes a lot of time and energy that you'd rather spend building the business. That's for sure. So it's a necessary evil. Um,
Yeah, when you're raising money, you're not doing anything else.
yeah, we were, but it takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And so, we did it over a period of about 12 weeks from start to finish. And that's a lot of time in the life cycle of a startup. Um, it was somewhat of a learning process, certainly learning how to do it. Somewhat of a learning process talking to different funds. We learned the most from Casa and in the conversations with Casa Verde. And that really is what helped build that relationship is when we went into that round, being an early stage company in cannabis, we need to learn. We need to be a learning machine. And we also need connections and introductions and expertise. And Casa really was strong from that perspective. So that was positive to build those relationships and get that perspective from a player like Casa Verde, who has so much experience in cannabis technology.
And having raised the round, how does that change your trajectory?
Um, it allows us to move faster. Um, it allows us to put resources behind the nationalization of our product. So, we know how to roll out to a new state. We know what the playbook is, but it takes resources to do that. So that speeds things up, and it gives us some resource to start to explore different product lines as well.
And are you guys currently only in the US market?
Correct.
And will you be looking to come to Europe or anything like that?
Not in the foreseeable horizon, no.
Okay, so there's enough going on in the US to keep you busy.
Yeah, for the next couple of years, for sure.
Okay. And so, there are other data analytics companies out there. How do you differentiate from them?
Well, that's a big space. Maybe we'll define the way we think about ourselves, and then have the conversation from there.
Okay.
What our product focus and philosophy is to really shorten and kind of eliminate the gap between providing data and allowing for someone to make a decision. So that we think about what we sell to our clients is not data, but actually business opportunities. And that's the filter that we put through the lens of all of our products and product ideas. So we don't really build a system that it allows you to, encourages you to explore or to analyze or to, some clients do that, but we really want to make it very easy to say, hey, here's an opportunity today for you. In order to do that, we need to be very specific. We need to be very local. We need to be very fast, and the usability of our products needs to be really, really high. So traditionally, data companies have looked more like market research companies for the most part. I mean, if you kind of think about just one aspect of the data space. And I've used those tools, and they're great for making a PowerPoint presentation or having a conversation at a board meeting. We are focused on a much more tactical level for someone on the ground who is planning his or her day and giving them specific opportunities that they don't need to translate, but they can actually act upon. So that's our general philosophy. And I think that makes us unique in the cannabis space. In the perspective of, we're not really about market research, we're really about market intelligence that allows you to make very quick and profitable decisions.
And this is a relatively easy, user-friendly platform where it doesn't require a big IT department to support it.
Correct. It doesn't require any IT department to support it. It's actually a platform that that people can just click a button on their phones. And we built the service with the sales rep in mind. And a lot of folks that are in cannabis sales are not in the business because they want to analyze data.
Hmm.
They're not in the business because they were math majors. Some of them may be, but really we really want the product to be very easy to use and very literal, to make it easy for someone who's driving around in San Diego and is pulling up our application before they walk into a retail store to get some information. So not only is it not a heavy lift from a company perspective, but it's not really a heavy lift from a user perspective either.
And what kind of feedback are you getting on the product?
Um, Amazingly positive stuff. If people go to pistildata.com, they'll be able to see a lot of the testimonials. I think it's a combination of some of the stuff that we talked about, which is making things easy for folks and being unique, but also just solving a problem that, if you're a sales rep and you spend time going on weed maps, staying on Instagram to stay up to date with stores and brands, going to the Bureau of Cannabis Control in the state and trying to keep track of licenses, all of that work that you kind of need to do as a salesperson to be apprised of your local market. We take that, and instead of being 20 hours a week, it's now a half an hour a week. And so that,
And it's not a messy Excel spreadsheet.
yeah, it's just an easy to use app that looks like any other app on your iPhone.
And so where will you go in 2022?
As I mentioned, we'll be rolling out to additional states, and we'll be exploring other products. Right now we're laser focused on the sales rep in the field. A lot of our clients are sales managers, sales operations, VPs of sales. So we want to make sure that we have the right tool set for them as well, which is somewhat of a different use case. Assigning territories and, helping manage the team. And we think there are opportunities among retailers as well to understand the market at a very local level so that they can make decisions about what to stock, how to price it, and how to promote their products.
And to go back to an earlier topic, in working with Casa, you mentioned in I think a Business Insider article that you were very interested in working with venture capital players who are in the space, in the cannabis space, as opposed to more generalists. And why was that?
I think there are two reasons. The first being that what I alluded to earlier is that it's really important to us to acquire expertise and be a deeper part of the ecosystem, the partner ecosystem. So only a cannabis firm can really help with that deep level of advice, as well as integration with other partners. Not technical integration, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I think the other thing is not everybody gets the opportunity of cannabis, which is surprising to me because it's very clear to me how important cannabis is right now as an industry and how much more important it's going to become. If you think about that 10,000 SKU liquor superstore, basically within that superstore, almost every one of those products is water, sugar, and alcohol in some combination. And it's almost all of those products are providing the same type of effect on folks. Whereas cannabis can be so many different form factors, can have so many different impacts on you from a physical and emotional and mental perspective that can be extremely useful. So I think the industry has so much potential and promise, and that's so clear to me. Talking to a firm that doesn't see it and trying to convince them of that's a heavy lift, and it's kind of a waste of time. And I also know that there are some firms that just can't work with cannabis yet because of the laws of the US. So those are the two reasons why it just made sense. It was much more efficient to talk to folks who understood the opportunity of cannabis and had knowledge of the industry. They seem like a much better partner at this stage in our company. I see other software companies as they get to later stages to start to develop relationships with other types of of equity partners. But right now for us, Casa was kind of the perfect partner for us.
And you mentioned that one of the challenges is there's not a standard format for data within the industry. Is that something you will champion, or is that something that you think will get moved forward? What do you think, how will you resolve that?
Well, we have learned how to resolve that within the walls of Pistil, and develop technical solutions for that. If we're going to tell you, Patrick, to tell you, if you're interested in understanding your competitor's product, let's say it's connected cannabis's gelato 3.5 grams, and you want to know what stores are stocking that product in California today, we need to, in order to provide you with a precise answer to that question, we need to be able to standardize and clean all of that data across the state of California. We report data from 91% of retail stores in California. So in order to provide a good answer to that question and then tell you, hey, here are the stores that are out of stock of that product, or here are the stores that stock that product, but don't stock your product, that requires a really high level of data accuracy and precision. So we've solved that for ourselves. I think there'll be opportunities in the future to help other companies do that as well. Because if you're an MSO and you have 14 stores or 140 stores and you can't answer that question for yourself, that's also pretty frustrating. But right now we're primarily focused on our own data platform and building new products based on that platform.
Well, Jeffrey, we very much appreciate your time today. It was great to speak with you and learn what you guys are doing. I'm sure you got some exciting things ahead of you as you roll out into new states. So we'll be watching that. We will make it a point to put some of the information below so that folks can check it out and visit your website and check out the app. So we appreciate your time, and we hope to hear great things from you guys.
Thank you.
Great.
Take care.
Thank you.